The grand hall of the Galactic Council's central station buzzed with worried voices. Hundreds of alien representatives sat in rising circles around a central platform, where Admiral Blue, a tall creature with shimmering scales, pointed at a hologram showing a massive creature floating in space. "Another trading post destroyed," he said, his translator making his clicks and whistles into clear words. "That's the third one this month. These void beasts are getting bolder." The hologram showed a creature bigger than most spaceships. It looked like a cross between a whale and a dragon, with a long serpentine body covered in natural armor plates. Patches on its skin glowed with strange blue light, and its mouth could easily swallow a small shuttle. In the audience, representatives from 50 different spacefaring races watched with growing fear. Some had tentacles, others had multiple eyes, and a few were just clouds of gas in special containers. But they all shared the same worried look. "We must act now," said Representative Green, a plant-like being whose leaves shook with emotion. "These monsters are threatening our main trade routes. Without trade, our economies will collapse." The council erupted in shouts and arguments. Some wanted to build bigger weapons, others suggested finding new trade routes, and a few even proposed trying to destroy the void beasts' breeding grounds, if they could find them. Then the chamber's main doors slid open with a soft hiss. Captain Jack walked in, wearing the simple blue uniform of Earth's Space Force. He was the first human representative to the Galactic Council, and today was supposed to be Earth's formal introduction to galactic society. Instead, he had walked into the middle of a crisis. "I apologize for interrupting," he said, looking around the room with calm interest, "but I couldn't help overhearing your discussion about dangerous creatures." Admiral Blue turned his large eyes toward Jack. "Ah, the human representative. I'm afraid your introduction ceremony will have to wait. We're dealing with a serious threat to galactic safety." Jack nodded and walked closer to the hologram. He studied the void beast, watching how it moved, how its body twisted and turned in space. "Interesting," he said. "It reminds me of several Earth creatures. The way it moves is similar to our ocean's whales, and those armor plates look like the scales on our pangolins." "You have such creatures on your world?" asked Representative Green, sounding shocked. "Oh yes," Jack said, "and many more. Tigers that can kill with one bite, bears that can crush bones with a hug, sharks that can smell blood from miles away, elephants that can knock down trees. Earth has quite a collection of dangerous animals." The chamber went quiet. Admiral Blue leaned forward. "And how does your species survive with such monsters?" Jack smiled. "We learn to understand them. Over thousands of years, we studied their behaviors, learned their habits, and figured out how to work with them instead of just fighting them. Some of our most dangerous predators became our closest companions. We call them pets now." "Pets?" several aliens asked at once, their translators struggling with the word. "Creatures we live with, care for, and work alongside," Jack explained. "Dogs were once wolves that hunted us. Now they help us hunt, guard our homes, and even guide our blind. Horses were wild animals that could kill with one kick. Now they carry us on their backs and help us build cities." The council members looked at each other in confusion and surprise. Admiral Blue's scales changed color slightly, a sign of deep thought among his species. "Are you suggesting," he said slowly, "that these void beasts could be understood, tamed?" "I'm suggesting," Jack said, still watching the hologram, "that maybe you're looking at this problem the wrong way. You see monsters that need to be destroyed. We humans see creatures that need to be understood." He turned to face the council. "With your permission, I'd like to bring in some of Earth's best animal handlers. Let us try our approach before you decide on more extreme measures." The chamber erupted again, but this time with curious murmurs instead of fearful shouts. Admiral Blue raised his hand for silence. "The human way does seem different from anything we've tried," he admitted, "and our current methods aren't working." He looked at Jack with all four of his eyes. "Very well, "Captain, show us this human approach of yours. You have one standard month to demonstrate results." Jack nodded, already thinking about the team he would need. As he left the chamber, he could hear the aliens still talking about Earth's dangerous creatures. They had no idea that humans' greatest strength wasn't taming monsters. It was seeing the beauty in things that everyone else feared. 2 days after the council meeting, Captain Jack stood in the observation room of Earth's space station, Hope, watching his team arrive. Through the large window, he could see their ships dock one by one, each carrying some of Earth's finest animal handlers. Tom stepped out of the first ship, carrying only a small bag. He had spent 20 years working with large predators in Africa, and his weathered face showed the marks of someone who had earned the trust of lions and elephants. His quiet confidence made even the alien dock workers step back with respect. "Quite different from tracking lions in the savannah," Tom said, joining Jack at the window. They watched as the void beast's massive form moved in the distance, its glowing patches creating trails of light in the darkness of space. The next ship brought Maria, who had just finished a 5-year study of giant squid in Earth's deepest oceans. Her eyes lit up when she saw the creature. "Beautiful," she whispered, already pulling out her tablet to take notes. "Look at how it moves, just like the deep-sea creatures back home." Admiral Blue arrived with a group of alien scientists, their many eyes and appendages twitching with nervous energy. "Captain Jack," he said, "the Council is uncertain about your methods. They insist on seeing your team's approach before committing more resources." "Perfect timing," Jack replied. "We're ready for a demonstration." They gathered in the station's main hall, where Maria had set up a large screen showing different views of the void beast. The alien scientists sat in the back, whispering among themselves. "First," Tom began, his voice calm and steady, "we need to understand that every creature has a reason for its behavior. These void beasts aren't attacking ships because they're evil. They're responding to something." Maria stepped forward, pointing to the screen. "Look at this pattern. When ships approach, the beast's light patches pulse faster, but when space debris floats by, it shows no reaction. This tells us the creatures are responding specifically to our ships." The alien scientists muttered in surprise. They had never thought to look for patterns like this. "We've modified a small scout ship," Jack explained, bringing up the design on the screen. "Instead of our usual engines, we're using a new drive system that produces different energy patterns." "Tom, would you like to explain why?" Tom nodded. "On Earth, we learned that many animals react to specific sounds or vibrations. Lions roar at certain frequencies to claim territory. Elephants use low sounds that travel for miles. We think these void beasts might be sensitive to the energy signatures of your ships." "That's impossible," one alien scientist said, his tentacles waving in disagreement. "Our ships use standard fusion drives. They're just machines." "To you, yes," Maria replied kindly. "But to these creatures, those drives might sound like predator calls or territory challenges. Imagine if someone walked into your home making threatening noises. You'd probably want them to leave too." The aliens fell silent, considering this new perspective. "We're ready to test our theory," Jack announced. "Our modified ship will approach the void beast using our new drive system. We'll maintain a safe distance and observe its reaction." Admiral Blue's scales shifted to a worried purple color. "And if you're wrong, then we retreat," Tom said simply. "The key to working with any animal is patience and respect. We don't force anything." The Admiral looked at his scientists, who nodded slowly. "Very well," he said, "but at the first sign of danger, you must return to the station." Jack smiled. "Of course. Tom, Maria, let's get started." As they walked to their ship, Tom glanced at the void beast through a window. "You know," he said quietly, "every time humans have met a new animal, someone has said it was impossible to understand. And every time, we proved them wrong." Maria checked her instruments one last time. "Well, this is definitely the biggest animal we've ever tried to understand." Size doesn't matter, Tom replied with a grin. What matters is respect. These creatures have ruled space for millions of years. It's time we learned how to be good neighbors. The modified ship hummed to life, its gentle energy signature barely noticeable compared to the usual roar of fusion drives. As they moved toward the void beast, the alien scientists watched in nervous anticipation, about to witness humanity's unique approach to the galaxy's most feared creatures. The observation room of the modified scout ship was quiet except for the soft beeping of instruments. Tom sat cross-legged on the floor, watching hours of void beast footage on multiple screens. Maria stood at the main window, taking notes as their ship maintained a safe distance from the massive creature. Look at this, Tom said, pointing to one of the screens. Every time before an attack, the beast's light patches flash in a specific sequence. It's not random at all. Maria moved closer to see. You're right. It's like a warning display, just like how a rattlesnake shakes its tail before striking. The alien scientists watching from their own ships couldn't believe what they were seeing. For years, they had dismissed the void beast's light shows as random energy discharges. But as they watched Tom and Maria work, they began to see patterns everywhere. The beast always approaches ships from the same angle, Maria noted, drawing diagrams in the air with her finger. It's protecting something. These aren't random attacks. This is territorial behavior. Tom nodded, his eyes never leaving the screens. Remember those deep-sea creatures you studied, Maria? The ones that lived near thermal vents. I think we're looking at something similar here. He pulled up a map of recent void beast sightings. Look, they cluster around areas of space with high energy readings, just like your deep-sea creatures gathering around warm vents. The ship's communication system crackled. This is Admiral Blue. Are you suggesting these creatures have a home? More than that, Maria replied, excitement clear in her voice. We think they're farming. A chorus of surprised sounds came through the speaker. Egan Jack raised his eyebrows. Maria continued, those energy-rich regions of space. The void beasts aren't just living there. They're protecting something that grows there. Probably some kind of space-dwelling organisms that feed on the energy. Like how humans protect their cattle? Jack asked. Exactly. Tom stood up, pointing to another screen. Watch this footage. When ships pass through these regions, they don't just disturb the void beasts. Their engines actually damage these small, floating clusters we can barely see in the background. Those must be their food source, Maria added. When our ships fly through, we're not just invading their space, we're damaging their farms. Admiral Blue's voice came back, softer now. Are you saying that all this time, we've been crop destroyers? Not on purpose, Tom assured him. But yes, imagine if someone kept driving trucks through your wheat fields. You'd try to stop them too. The observation room fell quiet as everyone processed this new understanding. The void beast floated majestically in the distance, its light patches glowing softly in the darkness of space. There's more, Maria said, pulling up new readings on her tablet. These creatures are social. Look at these long-range scans. They're communicating with each other using those light patches. They have families, communities. Tom walked to the window, watching the void beast with new appreciation. They're not monsters. They're ranchers, protecting their herds and their families. They're just doing it on a scale we've never seen before. Jack smiled. And that's why our usual approaches failed. We treated them like mindless beasts when they're actually intelligent farmers. The Council needs to hear this, Admiral Blue said. His scales, visible through the video link, had turned a bright shade of gold, a sign of amazement in his species. We're just getting started, Maria replied, her eyes shining with excitement. Now that we understand what they're doing, we can start learning how to communicate with them. Tom nodded, already making notes for their next step. The key is to show them we understand and respect their territory. On Earth, that's always the first step in building trust with any animal. As if responding to his words, the void beast turned slightly, its massive body moving with surprising grace. One of its light patches pulsed briefly, not a warning flash, but something softer, almost curious. "Look," Maria whispered. "It's noticed that we're different. We're not threatening its food source or challenging its territory." "Then we're ready for the next step," Jack said. "It's time to show the galaxy that humans know how to make friends with more than just Earth's creatures." The modified scout ship, Gentle Hand, drifted slowly through space, its special engines humming quietly. Inside the reinforced observation pod, Tom and Maria prepared for their closest approach yet to the void beast. Behind them, Captain Jack watched the monitors while keeping in contact with the nervous alien fleet hanging back at a safe distance. "All systems normal," Maria reported, checking their instruments. "The void beast hasn't shown any warning signs yet." Tom nodded, his eyes fixed on the massive creature ahead of them. "Its light patches are steady. No threat displays." "That's good." Through the communication system, Admiral Blue's worried voice crackled. "You're getting dangerously close to its defensive perimeter. No ship has ever gotten this close without being attacked." "That's because they were using the wrong approach," Jack replied calmly. "Tom, how's our energy signature?" "Perfect. We're mimicking the peaceful patterns we observed in their group interactions." Tom adjusted some controls. "Think of it like speaking their language, but with energy pulses instead of words." The void beast turned slightly, its enormous body moving with surprising grace. Some of its light patches brightened, but not in the threatening way they had seen before. "Look at that response," Maria exclaimed, quickly recording data. "It's curious about us. The light pattern it's showing, it's similar to what we saw when they greet each other." The alien observers watching through video feeds muttered in amazement. They had never seen a void beast act this way before. "We're going to try something new," Tom announced. He pressed a series of buttons on the control panel. The ship's external lights began to pulse gently, mimicking the void beast's peaceful greeting pattern. For a moment, everything was silent. The void beast hung motionless in space, its massive form blocking out the stars behind it. Then, slowly, it moved closer. "Don't panic," Tom said quickly, as several alien observers gasped. "This is exactly what we wanted. It's treating us like a potential friend, not a threat." The creature drew near enough that they could see the intricate patterns in its armor plates. Up close, its skin wasn't just dark. It shimmered with countless tiny points of light, like a living starfield. "Amazing," Maria breathed, her tablet forgotten in her hands. "Those aren't just armor plates, they're sensor organs. That's how it navigates through space and finds its food." The void beast slowly circled their ship, its movements careful and precise. Its light patches pulsed in gentle patterns, like it was trying to figure out what kind of creature they were. "Look at this reading," Jack said, pointing to one of the monitors. "The energy field around it. It's adjusting to match our ship's signature. It's actively trying to communicate with us." Admiral Blue's voice came through again, filled with disbelief. "In all our records, there's never been a peaceful contact like this. How did you know it would work?" "Because we've done this before," Tom explained, still watching the void beast carefully. "Every wild animal on Earth was once considered impossible to approach. But when you show respect and speak their language, you'd be amazed how many friends you can make." The void beast made another slow pass around their ship, this time a little closer. One of its smaller tentacles reached out, gently touching the hull with the lightest of contacts. "It's testing us," Maria said excitedly. "Just like dolphins do when they meet new objects in their environment. This isn't just curiosity, it's intelligence." The alien observers watched in stunned silence as the massive creature, known throughout the galaxy as an unstoppable monster, behaved more like a curious, gentle giant. "Well," Jack said with a smile, "I think it's safe to say we've made first contact. Now comes the real challenge, building trust and teaching others how to do the same." As if understanding his words, The void beast's light patches glowed with a warm, steady pulse. In the darkness of space, human and creature began their dance of friendship, showing the watching galaxy that sometimes the bravest thing isn't fighting monsters. It's taking the time to understand them. 3 weeks had passed since the first contact, and the gentle hand had become a familiar sight to the void beast. The human team had named it Star Dancer because of the graceful way it moved through space. Today, they were attempting something new. "Are you sure about this?" Admiral Blue asked through the communication system. His scales had turned a nervous shade of gray as he watched from the safety of the observation station. "Absolutely," Tom replied, checking his spacesuit one final time. "We've been practicing this approach for days. Star Dancer understands our movement patterns now." Maria helped Tom with his helmet. "The void beast has shown consistent friendly behavior. It even warns us when other creatures enter its territory." Captain Jack stood by the airlock controls, his face serious. "Remember, at the first sign of trouble, you return immediately. This will be the closest any human has ever been to a void beast without a ship around them." Tom nodded, stepping into the airlock. He carried only a small device that could create the same energy pulses their ship used to communicate with Star Dancer. The plan was simple but dangerous. He would leave the ship and float in space, trying to establish direct contact with the creature. "Beginning airlock sequence," Jack announced. Through the thick windows, they could see Star Dancer floating nearby, its light patches glowing with familiar patterns they now knew meant curiosity and friendship. The outer door opened, and Tom pushed off gently. His spacesuit's thrusters helped him move slowly toward the void beast, which watched him with obvious interest. "Heart rate normal," Maria reported, watching Tom's vital signs. "Star Dancer's light patterns show recognition. It knows this is the same person it's been seeing through the ship's windows." The alien observers held their breath as Tom floated closer to the massive creature. Star Dancer's smallest tentacle, still bigger than their ship, moved slowly toward him. "Easy now," Tom said softly, though only the humans could hear him through the radio. "Just like we practiced." He activated his energy pulse device, creating the greeting pattern they had used so many times before. Star Dancer's light patches rippled in response, matching the pattern. Then, to everyone's amazement, it curved its huge body around Tom in a protective circle, creating a safe space in the emptiness of space. "Remarkable," Admiral Blue whispered. "It's shielding him from the solar winds. That's what they do with their young." Maria was rapidly taking notes, her eyes shining with excitement. The void beast sees Tom as part of its social group now. This is exactly what we hoped for. In space, Tom slowly reached out and placed his hand on one of Star Dancer's armor plates. The creature didn't pull away. Instead, its lights pulsed in soft, peaceful patterns. "The surface is warm," Tom reported, his voice filled with wonder. "And I can feel tiny vibrations. It's definitely trying to communicate." Over the next hour, Tom and Star Dancer moved together through space in what looked like a carefully choreographed dance. The void beast showed him its favorite spots in its territory, including the fields of energy-rich organisms it protected. "Look at how careful it is with its movements," Jack pointed out to the watching aliens. "It knows exactly how fragile humans are compared to it." That's not just intelligence, that's emotional understanding. When Tom finally returned to the ship, Star Dancer followed close behind, watching to make sure he got back safely. The alien observers were silent, trying to process what they had just witnessed. "In all our history," Admiral Blue said finally, "we never imagined this was possible. We thought these creatures were mindless destroyers, but they're gentle giants." "They always were," Maria replied softly. "They just needed someone to take the time to understand them. That's what humans do best. We look past the fear to find the friend underneath." As if agreeing, Star Dancer's lights pulsed one more time, a pattern they now recognized as contentment. In just a few weeks, humanity had turned the galaxy's most feared creature into an ally, proving once again that sometimes the bravest thing isn't conquering what you fear, but learning to understand it. The emergency alarms on the space station blared without warning. Captain Jack rushed to the control room, where Admiral Blue's scales had turned almost white with fear. On the main screen, a massive cluster of asteroids tumbled through space, heading straight for the most populated sector of the galaxy. "How long do we have?" Jack asked, quickly reading the data scrolling across the screens. 6 hours before they hit the outer colonies, Admiral Blue replied. "We've already ordered an evacuation, but there's not enough time to move everyone. Millions will die." Tom and Maria burst into the room, followed by several alien scientists. They had all been working with Star Dancer when the alarm sounded. "The asteroids are too big for our weapons to destroy," one alien scientist said, his tentacles twisting in distress. "And they're moving too fast for our ships to deflect them." Maria studied the asteroid path on the screen, her eyes widening. "Look, they're going to pass right through Star Dancer's territory. That's why we called you," Admiral Blue said. "The Void Beast will attack any ships that try to reach the asteroids. We need you to keep it away while our fleet attempts to break up the cluster." But Tom was shaking his head, a different idea forming. "No, wait. We don't need to keep Star Dancer away. We need its help." Everyone turned to look at him. "Think about it," he continued, pointing to the screen. "We've seen how strong Void Beasts are. We've watched Star Dancer move things bigger than our ships when it's tending its energy fields. It could help us deflect the asteroids." "That's impossible," one of the alien scientists protested. "You can't expect a wild creature to understand such a complex task." "Why not?" Maria jumped in. "Star Dancer is intelligent. It understands territory and protecting things. We just need to show it that the colonies are worth protecting." Jack turned to Admiral Blue. "It's our best chance. We've built trust with Star Dancer. Let us try." The Admiral's scales shifted through several colors before settling on a determined blue. "You have 1 hour to attempt this. After that, we must try with our fleet, whether the Void Beast attacks us or not." The human team raced to their ship. As they approached Star Dancer's territory, they could see the Void Beast was already agitated, its light patches flashing in warning patterns at the approaching asteroids. "It knows something's wrong," Maria said, monitoring the creature's behavior. "It can sense the danger." Tom took control of the ship's energy pulses, sending out the patterns they had developed to communicate with Star Dancer. Through pulses of light and energy, they tried to explain the danger to the colonies. "Look," Jack pointed through the window. Star Dancer had moved closer, its lights pulsing in response patterns. "It's asking for more information," Maria translated, reading the patterns they had learned over the past weeks. "It wants to understand what we need." Tom adjusted their ship's position, carefully guiding Star Dancer's attention to the asteroid cluster, then to the distant colonies. The Void Beast watched, its massive body floating silently in space as it processed this information. For a terrible moment, nothing happened. Then, Star Dancer's lights flashed in a pattern they had never seen before. The Void Beast turned and sped toward the asteroids, moving faster than they had ever seen it move. "Follow it," Jack ordered, and their ship raced after their friend. As they watched in amazement, Star Dancer reached the asteroid cluster. Its huge tentacles wrapped around the largest rocks, and its powerful body began to push. The asteroids, which had resisted all their calculations for deflection, began to move. "It's working," Maria shouted, checking the new trajectory calculations. "Star Dancer is strong enough to shift their path." Admiral Blue's voice came through their speakers, filled with awe. "The Void Beast, it's not just deflecting the asteroids. It's hurting them, like it herds its energy fields. It's guiding them away from the colonies." Tom smiled proudly. "That's because Star Dancer understands now. Those colonies are part of its territory too. And Void Beasts always protect what's theirs." 1 month after the asteroid crisis, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different. Where there had once been fear and tension, Now there was excitement. Captain Jack stood at the center platform, but this time he wasn't alone. Through the massive viewing window behind him, Star Dancer floated peacefully, its light patches creating beautiful patterns in space. "The training center is ready," Jack announced to the assembled aliens. "We've already received hundreds of applications from species wanting to learn how to communicate with void beasts." Admiral Blue, his scales shimmering with pride, stepped forward. "Thanks to the human team's success, we've established contact with 12 more void beasts in different sectors. Each one has shown the same intelligence and willingness to communicate that Star Dancer did." On the platform beside Jack, Tom and Maria were showing a group of alien scientists their latest discovery. Maria pointed to a complex chart of light patterns. "We've documented over 50 different communication signals," she explained. "The void beasts don't just talk about territory and food. They share information about space conditions, dangerous areas, and safe travel routes." Tom nodded, adding, "They're not just farmers of energy fields. They're the natural guardians of space. They know more about safe space travel than all our instruments combined." The chamber buzzed with excited conversation as representatives from different worlds discussed the changes already happening. Trade routes were being redrawn to respect void beast territories. Ships were being modified with the new, quieter engines. Some colonies had even started leaving offerings of energy-rich materials near void beast territories, building friendship through gifts. "The most amazing thing," Maria said, showing another set of readings, "is that the void beasts are adapting to us too. They're learning our ways just as we learned theirs. Star Dancer now guides lost ships to safety and warns us about dangerous space phenomena." Representative Green, who had once been so afraid of the void beasts, raised his leafy appendage. "But how can we be sure this peace will last? How do we know they won't turn on us?" Jack smiled and gestured to the window. Outside, Star Dancer was helping a small transport ship navigate through a difficult asteroid field, its massive body gently guiding the ship to safety. "Because we stopped trying to control them and started trying to understand them," he answered. "That's the human way. We don't just tame creatures, we build partnerships with them." Admiral Blue's scales turned a deep gold color of happiness. "The Council has voted to create a new position, Void Beast Ambassador, and we want Earth to fill this role. Your species has proven to be uniquely qualified to bridge the gap between civilized space and its wild inhabitants." The chamber erupted in applause. Even the most skeptical aliens had to admit that humans had changed everything. The void beasts, once seen as the galaxy's greatest threat, were now becoming its greatest allies. As the celebration continued, Tom stood by the window, watching Star Dancer. The void beast noticed his attention and moved closer, its lights pulsing in the pattern that meant friendship. "You know what this reminds me of," he said to Maria, who had joined him. "The first humans who learned to work with wolves, or horses, or elephants. They probably faced the same doubts and fears, but they knew that understanding was better than fear." Maria smiled, pressing her hand against the window. Star Dancer gently touched the other side with one of its tentacles, creating a beautiful mirror of lights. "That's why humans will always be the ones brave enough to tame them," she said. "Not because we're stronger or smarter, but because we're willing to see the beauty in things that everyone else fears." Outside, more void beasts were arriving, their lights creating a dancing symphony in space. They were no longer the monsters of the galaxy. They were its guardians, its guides, and thanks to human understanding, its newest friends. As Captain Jack watched the scene, he knew this was just the beginning. Somewhere out there, other mysterious space creatures were waiting to be understood. And humans, with their unique gift for building bridges between worlds, would be ready to show the galaxy once again that the bravest thing isn't conquering the unknown, it's learning to love it.